the way I hope to present the material today is the way that has helped my students understand it. So I think it might be helpful, as well as interesting. I hope I found some interesting and inspiring quotes for you to study. Right. So just an update on the sample that I'm drawing from. So I've met 1,138 students so far, and I'm trying to get up to 100,000 minutes. And if I break 100,000 minutes, then I'll be satisfied if I leave. But if I get to 99,999 and for some reason they fire me, that would be disappointing. So the game plan for today, I'm just going to basically reiterate what I just said about taking the language learner's laboratory perspective on this issue versus the linguist's perspective. Like I said, I'm not a linguist. All right, so then we'll go right into the word types. What are they? And the real heart of this presentation is going to be the special challenges that the students encounter, and we'll identify them and then talk about some ways to get around them. All right? So from the inside out instead of the outside in, that's the contrast I want to draw between actually learning and teaching a language versus studying it like a scientist. The scientist, of course, is going to produce a highly systematic understanding of how languages work, and they could tell you every detail about a noun. In fact, probably we could do an entire presentation on nouns today or over a full week, and we still wouldn't cover everything. But that's perhaps not interesting for us, not useful, and very likely not understandable for a student learning the language. Typically, we want to avoid using linguistic terms when we teach. They call this meta-language. That's language about language. So the noun is the name we give for this type of word. However, it is useful at a basic level. So you do want to have your students understand what a noun is, what an adjective is, what a verb is, what an adverb is, because then you can explain differences. You can identify why they're not using a word correctly. It's like, yes, that is related, but that's the adjective form of the noun you're looking for. So if you can talk about nouns, it's useful. So today I am completely aware that my explanation will be incomplete about these words, but I think it's helpful. So let's begin by looking at the language itself. So, what is a noun? Let's look at an example in use. So drawing from a real piece of English, this is the final line of Washington's farewell address to the armies of the United States, given 1783 on November 2nd. So I just happened to have this book here, so I picked it up and tried to find a good quote. Some of it's not good. It's a little confusing. The style of language back then was a little different. But let's take a look at this one sentence. So, can you identify the nouns? I think Wendy's audio is on. Wendy, could you tell me the nouns in the sentence?
Let's see, the curtain. Curtain. Separation could be a noun. Military, scene, ever.
That's interesting.
I think.
You know, I didn't think about ever, and I think you're right. So let's take a look at the next one. So great job. You found one that I didn't think about. Because usually I pair these words together. Oops, let's go back. I'm going to click on it. Forever, I think of as being like an adverb. He did this forever. Something like that. Now, curtain, yes. Separation. Scene, I don't agree with military in this particular sentence. The reason is it's used in the place of an adjective. And
Right.
that's one of the important points that I wanted to bring up today.
Mhm.
When students are confused about how to use a word, uh, is it an adjective or is it a noun? Probably you should look at its place in the sentence. So we have here military scene. In fact, we have the military scene. That entire item is called a noun phrase, and the last item is the main noun in the noun phrase. The other things are just giving extra information about it, some quality or some specificity. That's what the gives, specificity, and military implies the quality. I looked at this today with some of my students just to diagnose if it was a viable slide. And the example that I used was to talk about, say, a weapon. You can have a weapon, you can have a big weapon, and you can have a military weapon. When we say big, obviously we say that is an adjective. But if we say military weapon, we're like, well, isn't military also a noun? Yes, but in this structure, military scene, military weapon, it's in the place of an adjective. Is that clear?
Yeah.
All right. So what place do they fill in the sentence? The place that they fill in the sentence is the subject place, which goes between the verb and the object. And so again, the important thing to talk about is what is around this word. If you have the full sentence, the whole sentence together uh, should be what you're looking at when you try to understand what this thing is. If I told you just a noun like card, card, it's a sound, right? It's the name of an object. That might be suitable in a way just to say that a noun is the name of an object or the name of an existence. But really, the way to understand how to use a noun is what place does it take in the sentence. So the object, the noun, usually has a place and it's acting in some way. That's the verb. And when it acts, it may affect another object or it may not. Later, we'll talk about the door. So, Tim, that's a noun, does the action, opens the door. All right, so we have two nouns in the sentence. We have Tim, the thing, the name of the thing, which is doing the action, and the thing that receives the effect of the action, and something else, which is the verb, the action itself. Now, if I had an automatic door, I could say simply, so imagine I wasn't here, the door opens. Okay, so there's the name of the object and the action it performs, but nothing except itself receives the effect. So that is the place that the noun fills in the sentence. It's the name of the thing that does an action or the thing that receives an action. Oops, let's go back.